Welcome to my channel and welcome to my favorite kind of video. Let's talk about my coloring February. February was surprising. I was sure that I dedicated bigger amount of my free time to reading, but when in the end of the month I tried to collect all my finished colored pages, I was really surprised by the amount of finished pages. Probably it was the biggest amount of pictures I managed to finish in 1 month. And February it's short, so I still don't know how I managed to do it. It's a little bit strange for me, but I'm really glad with my February results. Let's start with this small page which I started in January but finished in February. The only one work which I transferred from January to February was this beauty. It's from Kolorowanka by Vlada. Let me show you the cover of the book once more. And here I continued to test various pencils. On my first page in this book I mostly used polychromuses. Here I also used Arteza and Mitsubishi pencils and a little bit of polychromuses for the house also. All of them behaved quite well on this page, and it was probably first of my spring pictures, even if I did it in the very beginning of February. I can't say that in February I managed to do many winter pictures. I was much more attracted to something colorful, just like I love to do. Something bright with intense colors. And another one short but a very enjoying process was in Peacock Designs by Creative Heaven. This time I did this peacock. You know that I already finished couple of pages here, and each time I tried to find new color combo for the peacock's feather, new color for the background. Again here I combined mediums. To do quick background I used alcohol-based markers, then I combined a little bit of Arteza, a little bit of Black Widow pencils for the feathers, and I even added some golden details to create beautiful centers of feathers. So it was some kind of relaxing coloring for me. I do love these simple but very enjoyable designs. As I said, winter wasn't my favorite theme of the month. I managed to do only 2 winter pictures, and both of them in the end didn't turn out exactly like I wanted them. I did only 1 page in Winter Wonderland. I thought that maybe in February I would manage to do at least couple of projects here, because you know February is the last month when I use this book, and then again it will be a long break until the next December. But in the end, in the first days of February I selected this page as my project, but very quickly I realized that it's not an easy one. Most of all because here we have a lot of snow areas, so a lot of white, pale blue, and not many areas where you can actually use color. A little bit of color on the deer, on the house. So my only thing which I really was able to do colorful was this bridge. At least I managed to add some colors apart from grey, a little bit of lavender, green and brown to the stones, but still it wasn't very exciting coloring. So I colored it through the whole month, and only on the last days of February I managed to finish this frozen water. In the end, I do love this page. I simply realized that I don't feel any more inspiration for winter pictures. So bye-bye until the beginning of December. My second winter page was from Seasons by Carlson. here I finally decided to do page which I wanted to do for a long time. I wanted to do it in December, then in January. I even wanted to do it last year, but finally I thought that I was quite prepared. I imagined the story behind this page because I saw many beautiful finished pictures by other colorists. Mostly they used dark blue or dark violet colors for the night skies, and everything indeed looked beautiful. But I needed something from myself, I needed something creative. So I decided that maybe if I would use effect of bokeh background, and if I would use colors which you can find on the night sky but with northern lights, you know that when on the dark blue sea you can also see a little bit of splashes of green, turquoise, even pale yellow and pink. Those colors of northern lights I decided to use on the bokeh background. I even tested it on smaller picture on one of the miniatures in Johanna Basford Advent calendar, and there it looked quite nice. But then after I did this background and then when I did this page, I realized that this background attracted all the attention of the viewer, and obviously the main attention have to go to the reindeer. So I tried to manage my to mask my very bright background with various mediums, and I can't say that I love how everything looks in the end. But I do love the reindeer, I do love my pine trees and ice crystals. So I learned from this page that even if the very creative idea and idea which you sure would work with colors and interesting idea of the bouquet, it can ruin your page simply because it doesn't contribute to the idea of the page. Sometimes background can be very busy and it's not what this picture required. Anyway, it was my second winter page, and it indeed was a sign for me that I have to quit with winter pictures and that I have to switch to something spring and something more bright. So bye bye winter pictures. Now let's talk about more successful projects. When I realized that I can't proceed very good with the Winter Wonderland, I decided to do another Teresa Goodrich pages, and my first page was in Main Street. I selected this page with antiques. Here I have a shop with dark wood, dark inner part of the window shop, but that's exactly what I wanted to do, to create this atmosphere of the old, relatively dark shop with a lot of interesting things inside, and I was concentrated on this play of light, reflections and shadows. So with this page I'm pretty happy. Everything exactly like I planned. And my next project from Teresa Goodrich book was in Country Charm. Here I indeed did a very spring picture. I selected a page with this old card. I think that I was attracted to this design of the roof. I immediately imagined that I want to do it in a little bit unusual way, but in the end I really love it's something new. I already did a lot of houses in this book, so to create some new way of doing tiles, roof, it really was a good thing for me. Everything else I tried to color thinking about spring flowers on the tree. Here probably we have daffodils, crocuses, and of course here we have a very cute bunnies. With this one I am really happy. It indeed helped me to start feeling the spring spirit We also have better weather here in Ukraine, so indeed I really feel spring is in the air. Now let's talk about my other works. I am glad that in February I used various mediums. I returned to some abandoned books, and talking about abandoned books, here I have my magical journey. You know that probably a couple of years ago it was one of the most popular books on my channel. But now I do probably one page in 3 months or even not so often. And I realized that it's not a good thing, that I miss this book and that I miss using intense pencils. So for my February project I selected this St. Louis page. Don't ask me why sky is green, but I think that in the end everything looks quite good. Together with intense pencils, which I used on the buildings on the sides, on the grass here. I also used a little bit of color pencils, couple of them for the clouds, and 1 or 2 black widow pencils for the light around the lanterns. So it was also a mix of mediums. With this one I am quite happy. I am glad that I added some unusual colors. This book is really good to step out of your comfort zone and to use crazy fantasy colors. I hope that no one living in St. Louis is offended by my selection of colors. I think that it's quite festive. I saw a lot of St. Louis pictures and it's a beautiful city. At least one page I added to this book. Also, I am glad that in February I finally started a couple of books which I have for quite a long time, which I admire, but I was afraid to start coloring in them. I'm talking about books by Herb Leonhardt. You probably know that I consider Herb Leonhardt as one of the best artists for coloring books. I think that his pages are almost as beautiful as pictures by Tomislav Tomic. My only problem was that they were double-sided, but I scanned them, so now I have PDF copy for myself if something goes wrong. But in the end, when I started to color, I selected as my first project this green man. And I was quite happy with the paper, especially tooth of the paper. I used crazy mix of pencils here. Starting with Arteza, Polychromos, Derwent drawing pencils, even Mitsubishi Uno and Black Widow probably. I wanted to test all of them, and they behaved on this paper quite well. They blended nicely, they covered pencils nicely. I know that I'm heavy-handed, so I tried to put some sturdy cardstock beneath my page, but even with my quite good pressure on the pencil, the picture on the back wasn't ruined. So now I am much more confident with coloring in this book. Now I am not afraid that pictures are double-sided. And I am quite happy with the result. It wasn't easy to color because here we don't have a big variety of colors. A lot of greens, and I tried to select various greens, some from the warm shades of green, yellow, green, olive green colors, and then to complement them some of the bluish green colors, and I even decided to add some autumn leaves for the background. So I think that it's not bad as a start for this book. Immediately after I did my first project in Legend Nouveau, the Chant Nouveau, I decided to do one in Fantasy Nouveau. Here I wanted to test color pencils. In February I got 2 new sets of pencils. The first one is color and I did video about this huge set of pencils. For now I am quite happy with them. They have not bad variety of colors and I love how they cover paper, how they blend. For budget pencils they are really very decent pencils. And also a couple of days ago I received another set of budget pencils. It's Star Joy, which were quite popular on YouTube. You were able to see them in many videos, so in a couple of days I will do my own video about these pencils. I just swatched them and now I want to test them. But let's return to the Fantasy Nouveau. To test the color pencils, I selected this page with a unicorn. I wasn't very happy how the artist cut part of the unicorn. I would prefer to have smaller size but bigger face of the whole face of the unicorn. But talking about pencils, I was very happy. I used a couple of polychromos pencils and for the rest I used the color pencils. They were bright, they covered paper nicely, so another started project and finally I can put these two books as books where I started to color. For a long time I mentioned them in my list of untouched books which I love, but from one or other reasons which I can't start coloring actually, and now I think that they will be frequent guests in my videos because both books they are really very good. I enjoyed coloring them. Even these tiny fairies, everything was very interesting to color. I am not good at coloring horses, but with this delicate shading and texture added by Herb Leonhardt, it wasn't a very difficult work. Now let's move to the other book where I had to do animals. Unfortunately, this month I didn't have time to do something from Fairy Tales by Selina Fenech, which I planned to do at least one page 1 month, but at least I hadn't abandoned books by Selina Fenech at all in February, and instead of fairy tales I did couple of pages in Australian animals. My first page was Brolga, Australian crane, and I think that I selected it mostly because we have similar birds and similar plants here in Ukraine, so I really feel a connection to this page. I'm still not sure that I'm happy with my background, especially on the screen it looks very pale. I did it with soft pastel, not my favorite medium, but I simply hate to do backgrounds on this paper. Maybe I would do this background a little bit brighter. I don't know, I do love colors which I used here, as this color gradient from orange to golden yellow to pale yellow, exactly what I wanted. But maybe I want these colors in the top part a little bit more intense. So maybe I will apply another additional layer of soft pastels. And then it will be finally finished. But with the other areas of this page I am quite happy. As usual, I used reference pictures to look at the color of the feathers on various body parts of the Brolga, and I tried to recreate them here. For my second project, I also was inspired by references. I am not a huge lover of insects and I don't like bees in real life, but this one on pictures was quite attractive. Mostly because of the blue color here. Indeed, it was blue banded bee. It's unusual and I decided that I do want to color it. And also the beetle is a very traditional flower plant here in Ukraine for the beginning of the spring, so it's another one of my spring projects which I did in February. I really wanted for the spring to come, so that's why I selected this page. Here I mostly used polychromoses. They are the best way if you need to do texture of the fur, and this bee, it has quite a lot of fur. Let me show you closer. It was fun to do. And on the wings I used a little bit of Black Widow Monarch pencils with their pastel colors and a little bit of grey. On the background I decided to use alcohol-based markers. As I said, I simply hate to do backgrounds on this book and on this paper. I didn't want background to be intense to distract attention from the main object, so I used pastel colors. And even if book is one-sided, I still don't like that I have here this bleeding from the alcohol-based markers, so I'm not sure if I want to proceed using them for my next projects. Yeah, it's a quick way to do background and it looks not bad. It's complement color of the flowers and color of the bee's wings, but as I said, I'm still not convinced because of the bleeding. I have to think about it. Now let's move to Jade Summer, my sickest book in my whole collection. You know, a very fun thing is that when I received this beautiful gift, I was sure that my first parts of this book will be vampires or dragons or even mermaids. I love them much more comparing to fairies. I was thinking that fairies, they look a little bit more childish. So I was surprised that I opened this book. I thought about one of the dragons, but then I found this page and I was thinking about doing a winter princess with wintry background and all those grey, beige and brown colors for the animals and birds. Then I started to do background. I realized that to have the whole page in blue and grey colors would be a little bit boring. I changed my idea, so now I have Spring Fairy. Behind her we have wintry background, and where she steps already we have first steps of the spring. Flowers started to grow, little green leaves on the bushes, and I do love this idea. When I imagined it, it really helped me with the further choice of colors. So for the background I used acrylic paints. Then for the animals and birds it's a mix of couple of prismas and then polychromoses for the fur texture. And then for bright parts, for the leaves I used monarch pencils, and for her dress I used color pencils. Another test for them for another type of paper, and again I was quite happy how they behaved. Well, I can't say that I'm still in love with this paper. I still hate it, sorry guys for my words. Yeah, it helped to prevent bleeding when I used one of the alcohol-based markers, grey color for the trees, but again it's curving, it's impossible to lay it flat, but surface of the paper is good, pencils blended nicely, so I try not to think about this horrible black paint. And surprisingly, now I had a second look at this whole part of the fairies part of the book, and now I want to do much more pictures here. I already invented a couple of stories behind other pictures, so I hope that in March you will see at least one finished page here. Now let's talk about Tatiana Bagema. When I need a page to relax, I usually take one of the nice little town pictures. This time I printed page from Nice Little Town 7, I believe, maybe 6. I have to check my files. Anyway, I wanted to do this pharmacy for a long time. I admit that maybe I overdid with the amount of colors. Everything is extremely motley and bright. But maybe the style of this nice little town books, it's possible to use so many colors. Well, I printed it on my own paper and it's definitely better comparing to the paper in the books, but still I struggled with doing tiny details, so I switched from Prismacolors, which I used on the tree, then to polychromes when I had to color smaller details, and finally I even did tiny leaves, mushrooms and bottles using alcohol-based markers with fine tip. So again, it was a mix of mediums, but in the end, I really enjoyed this color along, this process. It was fun without any tension about shading, about realistic colors, so I am glad that I did another relaxing page here. And in February, I got a very nice present, couple of books by Tatiana Bagema, but in totally different style. Now I have vintage classic coloring pages 1 or 2. For now, my favorite is part number 1, but in both books pictures they are amazing. Again, I struggled with the paper. On my first project, I tested acrylic paint for the background. It wasn't bad. I am not very confident when I use acrylic paints, so maybe it would be a good thing for me that in this book it would be more wise to use acrylic or gouache on this paper comparing to watercolors. Now I have to practice. And on this eagle and this botanic composition, I again mixed a lot of pencils just to test them, how they would behave. I used Black Widow, I used polychromes, I used Derwent drawing pencils, so a little bit of those and these pencils, even Mitsubishi pencils for the berries, and tooth of the paper is good. Paper is thin, not very pleasant to flip through, again this horrible black paint, but the beauty of the designs, it's put everything bad, all bad things aside, and when you look at these pictures you really want to color all of them. They are really very nice. Now let's talk about book printed on perfect paper, and it's book by Clara Markova. I received this book as my Christmas gift and I am really very grateful because I wasn't confident that I would be able to color pictures by Clara Markova. That's why I hadn't purchased them myself. But when I received this gift, I tried one page and I realized that I can easily fall in love with these designs. They are really nice. And in February I managed to finish 2 of them. I love unicorns, so of course I had to color this page. And I love these irises, so that's why I selected this page as my first February project. On this wonderful paper I even enjoyed doing the whole background with Prismacolors. Probably the best thing which I can mention here is the skin of the mother unicorn. It has a mix of various pastel colors, but because of the light cream glow, I really love how everything turned in the end. So it has a little bit of lavender, a little bit of pink, grey, but this cream glow, it really what I love, and I am proud of myself. And the second page was surprising even for myself. Usually I don't color title name pages. Sometimes I test my new mediums on the name pages and it doesn't help. Some of them look totally ruined by my testing. It's my bad habit to test new mediums on the first pages in the books. But here everything turned out really well. Here I tried to use watercolors for the background. Apart from regular watercolors, I also used liquid watercolor by Acrylic and everything worked very well as a background. And then I mostly used polychromas for all of the details. And I do love how everything looks. Probably the one thing I would like to improve a little bit, this tiny butterfly or bee. It's not very visible, it's in the same color as the hair and the tree trunk, but all other details, especially this huge bow and these colorful flowers, I do love them. And of course I'm glad that watercolors behaved really well here, so I can use them for my next projects as a background medium. Not all my colorings in Hannah Carlson books in February were a failure, like my winter picture. In jewelry box, I managed to do 2 pictures, and honestly I am proud with both of them. My first one was this beetle. I can color insects in Hannah Carlson books because actually they don't look like actual insects, which I don't like. They much more look like real jewelry, pieces of jewelry, and I wanted to maintain this look. I started with the background and it wasn't successful with the first step. At some time I even thought that I completely ruined this background, but then by adding various mediums I did acceptable background and I thought that it would complement the main image. Here I used a lot of colors for the gold. Then my other problem was, do I need to add this red color for the wings or do I need to stay in the green turquoise palette, which I planned to do initially, but in the end I am glad that I added a little bit of red on the wings, on the flowers here on the pendant, and as I said, I am quite proud of this page. It's also shining, I hope you can see it. My next page is with bottles. I love bottles in Hannah Carlson book here and in Magical Dawn. And these bottles, they were extremely cute, but they didn't have any background. They were hanging in the air. It looked like sampler. I decided that here we have some magical storage somewhere in the old castle dungeon, and that's why I added this old stone wall behind and some kind of wooden shelf. I used watercolors first, then I worked on the details with pencils, and for the bottles I used Prismacolors. So it's the second page which I really very proud of. Next, let's move to a romantic country. Here I did simple but cute page with kitchen pantry. You know that I love kitchen Sam, I love all those pictures with various fruits, vegetables, with tableware, with some kitchen stuff. That's why I decided that I want to do this page. I realized that the best medium for me on this paper is Prismacolors together with Blender, but on this page I also managed to use a little bit of Derwent graphite, and I was quite happy how they behaved. They were very helpful on the background. The only thing that I really changed here is this basket with flowers. On the original page, flowers, they looked a little bit childish, and I decided to turn them into some kind of lavender. And I added these stones, bricks on the background to make it a little bit more interesting, because the original one was a little bit too empty, and I added this pavement also. Well, and my final finished picture was in a light bulb burglar. I finished it only a day ago, and thanks to Linda for inspiring me to do this page. I tried to color this book almost in order, so many of the already finished pictures I have in the beginning of the book. And when I selected my next page, I tried to use the same colors as I used on my previous page, same colors for the bugler's head and coat, and also the same mediums. So here I used a lot of Derwent graphitins, a little bit of Inktenses for water, and also I added some gray colors because here we have huge amount of steel, metal, and that's why I needed a lot of grays. It was interesting because here we have some kind of comics. We have 4 parts. It's a journey of the bugler going to beneath the street to some kind of the underground passage, down the stairs and to the secret laboratory. I tried to unite all 4 parts using this red light, like guiding light for the thief. It was interesting to do, to select all those colors. I'm glad that finally I did something in unusual color palette for me. It was really very refreshing. And now I think where else I can use this Derwent graphitin pencils. Here paper is really good, so they were able to show all their best properties. And now I will try to find other way of using them. Well, there were all my finished pictures in February. As I said, for such a short month, I was really impressed by the amount of pictures I managed to finish. I'm quite happy with all of them, even with those not very successful winter pictures. And I hope that March will be at least partly as successful as February. I had a lot of happy moments in February. I got new books. Couple of books I win as prizes in Creative Heaven in Creative Heaven coloring contest. So now I have 2 new books by Martin Noble. I was gifted beautiful books by Tatiana Bagema. I got 2 new sets of pencils. So I had a lot of fun time ahead of me, and I hope that you liked my February videos and that you will be watching my next videos. Thank you for your support, and I will see you very soon.